All right, Jen, welcome on.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I just want to thank you for joining me today. I'm really excited for this conversation. I've been talking to a lot of my friends and a lot of people that have been listening to podcasts, and I've been telling them about this conversation that I've had and what I've experienced with energy healing, and so I've been really hyping you up and excited.
Oh, thank you.
Excited to finally get you on and hear your story.
Thanks for having me.
And so, for all the people who don't know who you are, give us a little background about yourself and where you're from, everything like that.
Okay, so go way back. I was born in Syracuse, New York. I moved here when I was about 25. And I've been in Charlotte, so for, well, I don't want to say my age, 20 years-ish. And I moved to Charlotte, and about, I would say, maybe 7 or 8 years in is when I got certified to teach yoga. So that is when my yoga journey started. It really started when I started practicing yoga, but I think taking teacher training was a huge gateway into who I am today, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and so where did you originally start practicing yoga, and what attracted you to the practice?
So 2003, I started practicing at Yoga South, which, have you heard of it? Probably not.
I haven't heard of Yoga South.
So I think back then there was like Peaceful Dragon, which is a karate studio, and then Yoga South and Charlotte Yoga. So we were like one of the 3 sort of power yoga studios in Charlotte. And my girlfriend dragged me to yoga, and I grew up an athlete as well. So I played like soccer, volleyball, softball, all that stuff in high school and Little League and all that stuff. And so I'm the kind of girl where I need to move my body once a day or I'm just not the same.
Yeah.
And so when somebody was like, do you want to try yoga? I was like, that's boring. No. And they were like, no, just come, you're going to sweat. So I came, and I'm like in my second pose, dripping sweat, my heart's beating, the music's pumping. I'm like, oh my God, this is so intense. And then I felt the difference in my mind after class. Like it was like that first yoga buzz that you get in your car, and you're like, oh, I feel different, like I'm on a cloud. And so I was hooked. And I started practicing at Yoga South, and I was in my 20s and just sort of broke. And I started doing like an energy exchange. So I worked the front desk at Yoga South and practiced there for free. And that was when I really got sort of the backstage look of how a studio runs, how the teachers act, sort of on stage and off stage, and just the whole yoga scene in general. So it was a really great experience. And even back then, there was drama in the yoga world, just like there is now. But so that started my journey.
Yeah, and so what was it? Was it the physical or the mental aspect that really kind of got you?
I think I was really surprised at the physical, and I know in Charlotte we do yoga in such a more powerful way than a lot of other cities, but I was able to check that sort of box of working out, after that first class, which I thought it was just going to be like me in like thick sweatpants, like, stretching on the floor kind of thing. And so it was mind, body, and spirit. And the spirit part came, I would say, like 6 months down the road. So you practice maybe like 2 or 3 times a week. For me, it took about 6 months where I was like, the way I describe it is like I've been wearing like foggy glasses my whole life. And after practicing yoga for 6 months regularly, it's like somebody came and like Windexed my glasses. Yeah, and I was like, holy crap, I'm in a relationship that I'm not happy in. Oh my God, I hate my job. Wow, these friends aren't serving me. Like all of these things that you do in your day-to-day life.
Yeah.
It was like a whirlwind of like smacking me in the face. And I literally like quit my job, I made new friends, I broke up with my boyfriend, because it's almost like when you get to that point in your yoga journey, you can't lie to yourself as much, in my opinion.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so what clicked after that 6 months? Was it anything particular, or was it something that you did in your practice, or was it something that like, was there a aha moment at that point where you were just like, wow, yoga's kind of opening my life?
I think it was when I slowly started to realize all of those things that were like not working for me in my life, that I was just going through the motions. And I think it's like an awareness piece. I think yoga helps you be able to step back and look at your life and be the witness on the things that you're doing, where up until then in my 20s I was just going through the motions and doing things, and I wasn't really aware of why I was doing them, if my childhood was ruling the reason why I'm attracting these certain people. And so it sort of hit me all at once. And then I was on an airplane actually flying home to Syracuse, And I was just looking out at the clouds. I always have like aha moments on airplanes. And I just heard a voice say, "You're going to do teacher training." And I'm like, hell no. I'm never going to be able to be Dolly from Yoga South, who was like my idol, you know, or Marsha, the owner of the studio, that's like so amazing. That's never going to be me. And I kept hearing like, "You're going to do teacher training." And so I got off the plane in Syracuse, and I just like had this feeling that I was going to do it. And then I just put my mind to it and did it.
And so where did you do yoga teacher training at?
I did it in Asheville.
And how long was this after you were working the front desk?
Like 6 years.
You worked the front desk for 6 years?
Well, no, I didn't work the front desk. All I did was work the front desk. I don't make money. So 2003 I started yoga. Maybe 2004 and 5 I worked the front desk. And then 2009 is when I got certified. So I was just doing yoga, working in the service industry, chasing boys, drinking Miller Lights, you know, whatever you do on your 20s.
The life.
And yeah, it took me a little while. I think, it took me a while because I think that I struggled with like the self-worth, or I did in my past, like the self-worth piece. And I think to step into a role to be a teacher or a leader, like to, you know, in your community or to other people was really hard for me. But once I did it, it was like, I'm home. This is really who I am. And I'm no longer going to subscribe to maybe the way that I was brought up that told me I wasn't that person. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you know, you have to unravel in teacher training and all that stuff, and sometimes you go down and then you come up and then you go down. And I did the 21-day immersion, so it was 21 days, you had like 1 day off, and I did it with one of my best friends. And you know, 3 days in she'd be like, "I can't do this." I'm like, "You're gonna be fine." And then 4 days in I'm like, "I can't do this, I'm so nervous." But by the end we were like, we got this. It really is such a journey, even within the training.
So what do you think was the biggest lesson you learned during your yoga teacher training?
The word that comes to my mind is comfort, like being comfortable with yourself. Like I guess maybe the root of that would be acceptance. Mm-hmm. Comfortable in your own skin. It's like you're forced to be in your own skin and to share vulnerable things with strangers that, you know, then become your tribe at the end. But to me, I think that I had such an extreme discomfort growing up, like in my own skin and with who I was. This gave me permission to just be, you know, Jenny Busco in whatever way that looks.
Wow, I love that. And so you got your yoga teacher training. You moved in Asheville. You moved back down to Charlotte.
Yeah, so I just took like a 6-week leave of absence. I was bartending at the time, and I was able to take paid time off. So I took 6 weeks off. I went like a week home. I did the training, and then I like just traveled around for a little bit and just took like a sabbatical. It was amazing. And then just came back to Charlotte to the guy I was dating and my dog, Gary Busey.
Don't forget Gary.
Rest in peace, boo.
And then you started teaching yoga, and you said you were doing paying and non-paying gigs. You were doing working with Keys in Carolina.
Yes, and when I lead teacher trainings, I always tell, like the very last weekend, I always tell future teachers, hungry and humble. If you can be hungry AF and humble AF, you will get somewhere. You know, take those times that nobody wants to teach at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. Volunteer as much as you can, because no teaching experience is a bad experience. And so that's what I did when I graduated. I would take anything and everything, you know. So like pregnant homeless people, I've done things at like foster homes and psych centers for teens and all sort of things where some were paid, but most of them weren't. But I learned so much about yoga, and that yoga is not just crescent lunge warrior 2. To me, it's connection, it's community, it's humor, it's, you know, knowing your tribe, it's comfort, it's acceptance. And I think the secret to teaching a successful yoga class to all walks of life is meeting them where they are. So if you're going to teach a kids class, you want to meet them where they are. You don't want to walk into a room of 20 screaming kids and say, close your eyes and meditate. No, let them run around and do warrior 2s and get it out, and then sort of calm them down. And with the girls that were, it was a teen psychiatric residential treatment facility, and these girls hated me at first. They were like, who is this cute little white girl? You know? Yeah. And I just walk in, they're like, hi, I'm Jenny. Here's my, you know, Krishna Das music. And then by the end, you know, every week I came and I sort of earned like their credibility, and I met them where they were. So some days our yoga class was sitting in a circle on the basketball court and them just asking me questions about what I'm going to name my unborn child. Because that's yoga. I wasn't trying to control them. I was meeting them where they were. I was building community and trust within them and safety, right?
Yeah.
That's what we say when you come to your mat. It's like, this is a safe, sacred place. And so to me, that is so much more important than a lot of what, we focus on.
That, because, I mean, when I hear that stuff, it's like, I feel like those are the people that need yoga. I mean, because like, I know that I found yoga and I wasn't in the best place back in 2018 when yoga was my number one practice. Mm-hmm. And when I found it, I was like, man, like, it kind of just helps everything else align.
Yeah.
And so do you have any kind of stories from people that like really latched onto you and the yoga practice from any of those experiences that you had and those,
like, students and stuff?
Yeah, like, did any students just really buy into what you were doing and just really grow through that experience?
I think
it sounds like you were working with some troubled
Yes, absolutely. And I think that like pretty much what I already said is that if you can provide a safe space for people, you can move mountains. You know what I mean? I think just me creating a safety, vibe with them, it makes them feel like they're not, like a lot of people, in foster homes and when you're in a psych ward, people are telling you what to do nonstop. Go to bed, brush your teeth, go to school, shut your door, don't fight with her. And I walked up in there like with, healthy sort of strong male energy, I sort of gave them control. You can step your foot to the top of the mat, or you don't have to. You can go into child's pose, and I'm certified in teaching yoga for PTSD. So people have struggle with PTSD. I can teach them yoga, which anybody can, but this is like a specific style, but it's all about that. So if you go through a trauma, say you got, your daddy came over your bed when you were 3 years old, heaven forbid, that was out of your control. You could not control the bomb going off in Iraq, right? Mm-hmm. And so a way to heal your sort of mind and your body is to know things that you can control. I can step my left foot forward, or I don't have to. Yeah. And so gaining control back and also combining that with like being really present in your body, because when you go through a trauma, your spirit and your soul is like, deuces, this is too dangerous. I'm going to sit over here for a little bit. And so when you get present, body awareness can help bring your energy back into your body. And so those are the tools that I had that I would sort of pepper in with these specific styles of yoga. But you can't force it, right? Yeah. So some days we meditate and talk about, getting present, and some days we would just sit on the basketball courts and talk about my unborn child and what I was going to name him.
Oh, man. God, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
And so, what kind of yoga classes are you currently teaching, and where are you teaching nowadays?
So I'm teaching hot vinyasa, which is what, rules Charlotte pretty much. Mm-hmm. And I teach at Charlotte Yoga, I teach at Vibes, and Carolina Yoga, and then I'm also doing consulting at Carolina Yoga. So if a yoga studio feels like, oh my gosh, I need help, and I know that you have the experience and the wisdom, and hashtag I'm old, I've just been doing this for so long that I have so much, past in this category, that I sort of come in and help with all walks of life. So branding, marketing, teacher development, like if a teacher wants to do, hey, I want to do a prenatal workshop. Okay, let's have a meeting. I can walk you through this. I'm certified in that. Let's talk about it. And then, hey, I want to learn how to do assist. Okay, I can walk you through that. Hey, let's check out our website. How can we make our website just a little bit more, visible to the public? And so I'm just coming in and doing everything for the business, and it's been really rewarding, and I'm learning so much about everything too.
And that's one-stop shop.
Yeah,
for all
so it's like
physical, business.
Yeah.
Everything.
So I'm helping push the product behind the scenes, but then I'm also part of the product by teaching there, and I'm going to be leading trainings there. Like in the fall, I'll be leading a teacher training and workshop. So I'm sort of like both pieces, and then fingers crossed, we'll see what happens.
And so if someone was coming off the streets and has never done yoga, but they walk into one of your classes, what would they expect to experience kind of physically?
In the Charlotte yoga class, like yoga in Charlotte, to get their face kicked in physically, it's hot as hell, and they probably would have like super thick pants on or something like that. And you move. And what I always tell new students is the hardest pose for them in this first class is going to be up here. You're going to get annoyed that you're not, you don't know what's happening. Like, what am I doing with my hips? What am I doing with my feet? So I just tell people, just try to laugh. Just be lighthearted, try to make this pose okay, and not to get, because if you're there and you're just so frustrated the whole entire time, then you're not going to come back. So I try to make it as lighthearted and humble and welcoming for any student, and then they look around like, oh, I know Warrior One, we did that last time, and then slowly you start to learn the poses. And then you get empowered when you do. So it's like
that was me with Half Moon. I still can't Half Moon. I hate Half Moon.
Oh,
Half Moon is a tough one for me. But yeah, I agree too. I feel like the practice really starts when you don't have to look to the person next to you to figure out what the.
But you
what
really
that
do.
pose
You sort of have to be thrown to the wolves, I think, with yoga and Charlotte. I mean, you can take a basics class, but I mean, you just move, you look around. I mean, typically we say pratyahara, which means go inside in Sanskrit, but I tell people, look around. And like, look at Roman. He knows what he's doing. Just check out his feet and his hips, and then try to have fun.
Yeah.
What you resist persists. So if you keep thinking, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know what I'm doing, that's all you're going to think about the whole entire time, and your body's going to get tense. Mm-hmm. You're going to hate the music, you're going to hate the teacher, and it's just not going to be good.
Yeah, and I think Charlotte does a good job of giving those like 30 days for $30 type stuff where you can kind of, I've taken advantage of all of them basically, and just where you can, if you do 30 days, I even challenged my roommate in, I think it was last October, where it was like, you got 10 days of yoga in those 30 days. Just get in there and try and do 10 days, and that's when, and he fell in love with it too. I gotta get him back into it.
And once you get to know the yoga scene in Charlotte, okay, you know what? I'm feeling really anxious. I want to go to Yoga 1 and ground. Or you know what? I want to look really good in my clothes. I'm going to go to Y2 and move my face off and sweat with an awesome community. I want creativity. I'm going to go to Charlotte Yoga. So it's almost like, which doctor do I want to go to today? Like, what do I need? And you can really, Charlotte has it all, from restorative and like a slow flow to kick your face in.
Yeah, hop over to Okra and you can do your yin.
Yeah, you can do like some shamanic workshop journey and
crunchy over there.
Yeah, wear some patchouli oil. Get some dreads.
Yep, and so let's move into your experience as a Lululemon ambassador and what that looked like and how you've grown from that experience when you were doing that. Tell us a little bit about that.
I loved it. I think Lululemon, hands down, changed my life. It was such an honor to be, part of their family, and I was just, from the first, their very small space they had in Plaza Midwood, I don't even know how many years ago that was, 10 years ago. I've just always been drawn to, the culture and the vibe, and I would just go there and sit on the couch there and, read magazines and hang out with, all the coworkers and employees and stuff like that, and I've always just been drawn to, that sort of culture and the way they made me feel. It was so social and fun. And then I would start leading those in-store classes. I remember one time I led blindfold yoga. They push all the clothes aside and you wear blindfolds because I'm it's all about going inside and body awareness. And so they really let me experiment with some things. And when Yoga on Tap first started, I was a part of all of that. And so I've just been with them since the get-go. And so when they asked me to be ambassador, I was I'm already part of the family. I already felt like I was. And so I was so honored, and it was amazing. And I think it really helps, the individual feel super empowered, And I love when I'm okay, I'm ambassador now. So what do I do for you, And they're nothing. We asked you to be ambassador for who you are. And it's just you just gave me what my parents didn't give me for 25 years. Thank you, Lululemon. You know what I mean? Acceptance? Oh my God. Wow. So I loved it. And I tried to do all that I could with all the events and just meeting people. And it was a whole new family that opened up in community.
Yeah. And so from that, you got to go to the Ambassador Summit.
Yes.
And walk us through that.
So
what that journey looked like.
They fly you to Vancouver, and you get to go to the Lululemon hub, and you walk around, and it's super hip and cool. Have you been there?
I haven't been there.
That's really cool.
I'd like to.
And then you get on a bus, and you go to Whistler, which is up these mountainous roads, and I got super nauseous. I was woo! But long story short, I think it was 150 ambassadors from all around the world. So it wasn't just America, and I think there's a couple people that are representing North and South Carolina. So I was part of the Charlotte area, and I think there might have been somebody from Raleigh that was with me. Mm-hmm. And so you just do all of these sort of exercises and personal development exercises, and then they also just treat you like gold. And then you're done with a lecture and you walk out and there's silver platters with smoothies and freshly squeezed juices, and the coffee bar was almond milk, creamer, gluten-free coconut milk, all that stuff. They were very accommodating to everybody, but I think there was a lot of power, a lot of community leaders from all around the world. So somebody from Beijing to Hawaii to Charlotte, and you're just in these rooms of people and you all have something similar in common, which I think is to like impact other people, you know, ultimately, right? Like you're some sort of leader in a community, and the drive, I think, to do better yourself and to learn and grow. You know, I think like community leaders, it's not like, okay, I'm super healed and powerful, I'm done. No, I think everybody's like, you're constantly growing,
of course,
and learning. And so through Ambassador Summit, I think the one thing that really sort of opened up a whole new world for me was we did an exercise on belief systems. And so there's like 30 of us in a room, and I don't even remember what we did, but it was like write down, you know, the voice in your head that nobody hears. You know, write down that voice when someone says to you, you should start a podcast, Roman, and you hear, no, you shouldn't, you're not good enough, you know? And so you boil it down to like one belief, and there's like 5 or so core beliefs, and there were like 30 of us or 20 of us in a room. I mean, like stout dudes from LA and Barbie doll girls, you know, from San Francisco, that you're just like, oh my gosh, these people are perfect. And literally we all like read each other's belief, and 90% of the people in the room thought they weren't enough. 90% of the people thought they were shitty parents and bad boyfriends or girlfriends, and they weren't enough, and they couldn't like live their dreams and goals. So here you are with like these powerful people,
rock stars,
and even we or they think that they're not enough. Yeah. And so there's this whole exercise on how your beliefs like pretty much rule your thoughts, and your thoughts rule your perceptions, and your perceptions can rule your emotions. So it's like, holy crap, I can actually like control some of my emotions, you know? Wow. And it was just really humbling and powerful to see, you know, this like 300-pound muscle guy just sobbing that he feels like, you know, he's a horrible stepdad or something like that. And it was really like, wow, this is some really powerful stuff, and understanding that a lot of times your beliefs are created sometimes from age 0 to 5. You might not even remember why you think you're not enough or worthy or lovable.
Yeah.
And so
that reptilian brain.
Yes, and it can just be like a dynamic that's showed to you. So it might not even be somebody saying you're a piece of you know what. It's just maybe abandonment, right? So if your parents abandoned you, or maybe your mom didn't pick you up as much as she could have because she had a ton of kids. So then maybe you grew up thinking you're not worthy or lovable. And so, and these beliefs, they're underneath. It's like the roots, it's like the tree, and the beliefs are like the roots, like underneath the ground that nobody sees, but they literally are driving like almost all of our thoughts, and love, and work, and dreams, and goals, everything.
Yeah.
I realized that at Summit.
A lot of people don't think about those kind of things, those previous experiences that are still affecting their decisions and their thoughts.
And it's so cliche and cheesy, but it really does boil down to your childhood, you know? And it might not be your parents. Maybe you were in like a school choir and your teacher told you that your voice was horrible, so now you think that you're not enough, you know? So it doesn't necessarily have to be your parents, but it usually boils down to multiple or one sort of dynamic in your childhood where there's like 1 or 2 core beliefs that drive you.
And so how did that belief systems exercise kind of transition into what you're doing now?
Oh, good question. I love that. So my belief was I'm not worthy, just because of the way I was brought up. And so at the end of the session, you figure out what your belief is. And I actually do this in my teacher trainings now. So if anybody's listening, they're going to be like, I know this exercise. And so you stand up on a chair and you declare sort of the opposite, right? So I'm not worthy enough of being a powerful healer in Charlotte. That's what I hear every day. And so I stood up on that chair and I said, I am a powerful healer in Charlotte, affecting and impacting many people. And so you negate that belief, and that sort of gets the ball rolling of awareness. I believe my newest saying is awareness can move mountains. So just having the awareness, there are things going on in your mind or like in the dynamic of your mind, I think that awareness can move mountains, because then I think your higher self is like, oh, she gets it now. Let me put this in her path and test her to see if she can, you know, pass the test. Or let me put this in her path so she can walk through this door to see that she is worthy. Wow. And so that was, definitely a big gateway into, I guess, like the work that I do. And I do a lot of this work in my sessions because a lot of times if there's a belief driving a dynamic in your life, a lot of times if somebody's like self-sabotaging, like I know I shouldn't go to the cupboard and eat a whole bag of Oreos, but I do it every night. Usually there's like an underlying belief, or if there's a repetitive dynamic that's happening, I keep dating the same person, different face, the same person. He always cheats on me every single time, but it's a different person. Most likely there's like an underlying belief that's driving your energy, your vibe, and then you're attracting somebody that's going to test that, because like attracts like. So you're the person that you're attracting is mirroring how you feel about yourself. It's deep stuff, right?
Oh, that's
it's not about love, y'all. You're like attracting what you're vibing at.
Wow. Yeah.
Or maybe like a lesson that you need to learn.
That's real deep. And so, was this belief system test and everything? Was that before you met your energy healer? Had your first.
So that was a little bit. So yeah. So Dana Childs, who I love you, girl. She's one of my besties, and I would not be who I am without her. I went to a session with her, I would say, a couple of years before I became ambassador.
Okay.
And in that session, so she is able to communicate with people's higher selves, or she calls them spirits. And I had no idea what I was walking into. I just got like referred to her by somebody. And I walked in and she was reading my higher self, and then at the end of the session, she was like, huh. And I was like, what? She's like, your spirit just told my spirit that we need to partner and work together. And she's like, I don't know what that means. And it just so happened that day, my car had broken down. And so she was like, well, actually, this is my last session today. I can just bring you home. So she drove me home, and then the car ride home, we got to know each other and started talking about like what she does and what I do and what we want to do in the community. And so long story short, we started partnering and doing classes around town that we called Energy Flow Yoga. And so that was, working with her was, I learned so much, obviously, and I still learn from her every single day. But so we would lead classes in Charlotte, we would just go to certain different yoga studios around, and I would lead the yoga part, and we would drop down to like a longer hold, so maybe a low lunge or a half splits, and then somebody would say, I have a question, and then they would ask a question, and maybe the question is, why can't I find a job that I like? I'm so unfulfilled in my job. And then Dana would ask their spirit and answer, well, you can't find a job that you like because you keep recreating the same dynamic because blah, 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 blah. And then we'd flow a little more and then drop down to the other side. Okay, who has a question? Roman, I really want to start a podcast. How can I become powerful at this, Yeah. Then she would ask your spirit, and then we'd flow. So it was like a yoga class, and then she would give energy. Before then, I was an energy healer. But so she would give energy while she was reading people's spirit, and I was pretty much just a yoga girl.
just getting them through the flow? Yeah,
just getting them through the flow, but just feeling it and being around that healing energy, it was really cool. But I almost think I don't think Charlotte was really ready for that. I think maybe they might be now, but I think people were kind of like, this is weird, I don't really get it.
Yeah, how big were these classes?
I mean, we sold out, like Y2, Yoga 1, Charlotte Yoga, so 50, 30, 30 to 50. So we just considered them like workshops, so they're like 2-hour classes.
Oh, okay, so they were a little bit longer.
And then she actually taught me about channeling, so like when you teach yoga, she would say, just open up, just pretend that you're like an empty straw or like a hallway, and don't think about what you're going to say, channel it. So while she was, during our breaks when I was like doing the poses, I would sort of fuel whatever the theming was of the class. Like maybe there were a couple people that talked about, they can't find the love of their life or whatever. And I would sort of like get messages in my mind, like from up above, and then speak them. And so we kind of became in sync. And that was the first sort of introduction I got about like trying to channel in yoga classes, which I still try to do this day, which means you're giving the class what they need instead of using your thoughts and sort of personality. But instead you're like giving them exactly the words that they need.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah.
There'll be like a lot of times where someone will be like, oh my God, like it was like you were talking to me when you're in crescent lunge and you said that. I'm like, yes, good job. Okay, I think I channeled that. Yay.
Oh man, that's awesome that you found that power that you could start doing that and like kind of listen to those.
Yeah.
Whatever was speaking to you.
Yeah, and I think I love one of my teachers. She always says, the ego shouts and the intuition whispers. And so it's really hard if you really try and you grip and you cling to like what's happening. It's hard. It's like it's just literally a whisper. The ego's always yelling at you. You're not enough. You're fat. You're ugly. This is never gonna work. The lights are too bright. My face is greasy. But your intuition is like, oh no, girl, take a left here. Don't go right. Take a left. And then you take a left and you like find a winning lottery ticket on the ground. But it's a whisper. It's not. And that's sort of my life's work is trying to decipher like my thoughts and ego versus like my spirit, intuition, whatever you want to call it, higher self.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so once that class stopped, did you start going into the energy healing space?
Yeah, so that stopped because Dana was writing a book and she was like, you can do this on your own. You don't need me, but I can't do it on my own. I need her. I need you, Dana. And then I started doing my own energy healing trainings through Christine Lang, which she's an amazing, amazing, amazing teacher. Highly recommend her, y'all. So she leads energy healing training. So they're not necessarily Reiki. It's more like a broad, like I imagine like sort of like Vinyasa yoga and then Baptiste. It's like energy healing and like Reiki is one of those spokes. This is just like a broad array of attunements that she channels and gives to us. And so in those trainings, we do things like, hey, what's in that paper bag? And you have to feel it. You can't even see what it is, and you just sit there and you meditate on it and you feel, does that feel good or bad? Is that going to serve me or not? You know, and maybe it's like, I feel repulsed by it, and then there's blue cheese in there, because I hate blue cheese. You know, and you're like, oh, I was spot on. That's something that's not going to serve me. So maybe when you take a left down a dark alley, you feel that same feeling. This is not going to serve me to go down this dark alley. So you're constantly sort of fine-tuning your thoughts and ego versus communication with whatever we call that up there. And then we would like meditate on each other and get like messages and past life stuff. And then
It's just one-on-one with you and her?
Nope. It's sort of like a teacher training. You travel. It's like 1 weekend a month with the same group. So I think we had like 6 people in the group. And then each, you know, some people don't ever really use. They just do it to deepen their practice. You know, their energy, their spiritual practice. Or some people move on to do what they do. And you know, healing is tricky because everyone's gifts are different. So maybe you're like a healer with your words, you know? Chefs are, you know, healers with how they make food. Yeah. Some people see things, some people just feel it in their gut. Some people can hear things like auditory, like I can hear like a dead person over there talking to me. And so it's really about self-study, like getting to know what your particular gifts are. There's one woman that graduated from our training that she talks to angels, like the Black Crow song. I always want to sing it. She does every time I see her. But she literally, like, her voice changes and she channels all the archangels. And she just found that in meditation. One day she was meditating and she just heard, like, a chatter. And she's like, who's in my house? Call the cops. And so each healer kind of has their own, you just go your own way. Just like yoga. Like, hey, I want to teach deep stretch or prenatal or, you know, restorative. But you have to feel the pull and really be still enough to listen to what's happening.
And so I'm going to ask the kind of the same question I asked about the yoga. For someone just coming off the street that has never experienced anything like this, believes it's just woo-woo, what do you think, what does an energy healing session look like for them?
So I would say what I do, again, because everybody's different, so what I do is, and you've been in there, intuitive guidance, which is sort of like a glorified therapy session, talk therapy. And before we start talking, I'll call in like any energy or angels or guides that needs to start moving while we talk. Mm-hmm. And then while we talk, one of my sort of gifts is that I can feel stuff. Like I just start to connect the dots and I'm like, oh, that feels really good to me. You probably should move to Boulder, Roman. I'm feeling, you know, I can just feel it. It's like a knowing. And so while you're talking, I start to connect the dots and put things together. And then we sort of solidify that on the table, which is just like a massage table. And sometimes did we do meditation? Sometimes we'll do a meditation, like I'll guide a meditation. A lot of belief system work I'll do through meditations to sort of shift like the subconscious beliefs that's underneath it all. But long story short, energy healing can help heal or alleviate physical, emotional, or spiritual pain. So say you have a low back issue, I can give you energy. And by the way, it's not me, right? So I'm just like a straw. I like to envision like McDonald's straws, like when I drink a Diet Coke, I have those really wide, like striped straws. Oh, so good, nothing better. So that's how I envision myself when I give energy. So it's not me at all. It's like from the divine or healing streams of grace or whatever you want to call it. And I'm just a channel for it to go through.
It's moving through you.
And it can come from all around. This is just intention. It's all intention based. So I'm just intending the energy is coming out of my hands. But maybe there's really some good stuff right here that's just going to come in and whoop. But technically it goes through your head, through your heart, and out your hands. And so every energy healing attunement just makes that hole bigger. Did I just say that live? So my hole is big. My hole is big. But really, I can contain and hold more and more energy through each training that I do. So I can give you more and more energy. So for example, if your low back hurts, giving you energy can help alleviate that physical pain. or it can help bring awareness to the root cause of that. So a lot of times low back issues are a lack of support. So you're feeling a lack of support. So maybe I give you energy and then 2 days later you're in a conversation with your wife and you're like, I do not feel supported by her. This is what's happening. This is why this is happening. I don't feel supported by my wife in this situation. So now what do? Then you set a boundary or talk about it or whatever. And then that can be sort of helpful on how to alleviate physical pain. But a lot of times with physical manifestations, and this is not concrete or black and white, but if it's gotten to the point that it's physical, then you kind of have to deal with it physically. So you can't be like, oh, I have cancer because my dad was an asshole. Is it okay that I swear?
You're good. Yeah.
All of a sudden you realize maybe why the root cause of why you have cancer, and you can't just because you figured it out, it's not going to go away. You still have to deal, so maybe you would need a massage on your low back, to get that energy moving around, and it's gotten to the physical point. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And so what about some stuff that aren't physical? Because I know that I wasn't really dealing with anything physical when we did it, but it was a lot more of just kind of continuous patterns that I kept seeing myself go through. And,
that's huge, yes.
Yeah. And so,
so a lot of people have like similar dynamics. Like I said earlier, like they're dating the same person over and over and over again, and it's the same exact dynamic. And usually it's related to a parent, right? And something that the reason why the dynamic keeps happening and happening to the person, I think, is the universe being like, hey, this is ready to be healed. I'm just reminding you what you're mirroring that you're not worthy, so you're going to attract guys that are going to treat you that way. I'm just here to remind you, love the universe. We think that like love is like Aroka with Jennifer Aniston, but really it's like just the universe letting you know where you are and how you're vibing, Yeah. And so then it's up to you to first find the awareness, like, oh wow, I do have these self-worth issues. How can I stay empowered? So I dated a guy for 2.5 years and finally cut it off, speaking of clearing, in September. But those 2.5 years were hell. But I think that I don't regret it because I probably broke up with him close to 20 times. And every time I broke up with him, I was telling the universe, I don't need a man. I was like healing my daddy issues and filling my self-worth up by leaving him. And granted, he would step up and then I'd get back together with him and then he'd fall down again. But that was sort of like an example of how you have to go through the human motions of healing the things that are sort of driving you from your childhood. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And it's like you also are bringing awareness to, I know you said that word earlier, awareness to the stuff. Like, I was like, why am I still doing this? Why am I still going after the same woman that, like, that's what I had to see. I was going after the same women that I was kind of just, that weren't giving me value, that weren't bringing.
Yeah. Or it can be like in the workplace. Like, why is it that I have like a girlfriend that every time she has a job, her boss becomes the villain? Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, he's so mean to me, and he did this, and he did that, and it's like they're recreating their daddy dynamic every single time. And all it is just the universe being like, hey, girl, I'm showing you this because you're ready to heal it. It's not like everybody hates us. The world doesn't hate us. It's just a little arrow, a little red flag to let you know, hey, this is happening, and you're ready to heal it. You're ready to let it go. You're ready to do the work.
Wow, so people just need more healing. And so you're bringing that healing through the energy and awareness.
So when you attract healthy relationships in your life or you break those dynamics, you're like, oh my gosh, that must mean that I've done some work. Like maybe you find a girl that has a different dynamic than the ones you've dated. That's letting you know that you've like gone up a rung on the vibration ladder.
The next level of the video game.
Yeah, exactly. You've graduated. And that's, who you attract shows you where you are.
Yeah.
So it's like your energy dictates how the world treats you. So how you're vibing, literally your vibration, shows the world how to treat you. So when you go to Dunkin' Donuts and the cashier is mean to you, and then you go to Harris Teeter and you somebody drops a pickle jar on your toe, and like all these bad things keep happening to you all day. If you were in my office, I'd say, check your vibe, girlfriend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like attracts like. In most cases, I believe that like attracts like.
Wow. Shoot, I got my gears. My gears are just all these examples you're giving. I'm like, man, like what? Man.
I always test it in Target. I'm like, was she nice to me? She was nice to me. All right, I'm having a good day then. My vibe must be good.
Wow, this guy let me over
Yeah, exactly.
Even to that stuff.
Yeah. Oh, so little.
Or letting someone over instead of gas pedaling up and not.
Well, that shows that your vibe is peaceful and calm if you're willing to let somebody over.
Yeah. And so, if someone was a little hesitant to going into an energy healing session, what would your almost like pitch be to them? What would you?
My pitch would be like, a lot of times I feel like people feel stuck or in their inner rut. So I'd be like, you know, do you feel like you're sort of stuck or you're in a rut or you're not finding a lot of joy? Like, as cheesy as that sounds, you know, I think these sessions, long story short, they bring you in alignment with your higher self, right? And so when you're closer to your higher self or your spirit, you're in the flow. You know, you're just in the flow. Things come easier. People let you over in traffic. The girl at Target's like, hey girl, you want an extra 20% off? Hell yeah, I do. You know, that's when you know that you're in the flow. Those little things will sort of let you know. And I think getting divine energy from up there, like half the time I'm like, I don't even know what's coming through me, but I feel it. Because you don't have to know. It's like you're just putting light where the dark is. And there's no bad session, in my opinion. I think the only thing that might happen is if somebody resists the energy. So I've had clients the next day say, I have like major cramps or a major migraine, and a lot of times that's the individual that's resisting the new energy, because even though they're letting go of the low vibrational energy and the dark stuff, it's still letting go. And as humans, we don't like to let go of anything. Even if we know it's bad for us, right? It's still letting go. And so we just resist, like, but I'm comfortable with that low vibration. I'm comfortable thinking I'm not enough or not worthy, because that's all I've been wearing my whole entire life. And so when you take off your clothes, you're naked. It doesn't feel comfortable. And so it will show up sometimes in like a physical manifestation if they're resisting, but usually they'll text me and I'll be like, just say like a what if. Like, what if I allow this energy to just, you know, stay in my body? And a lot of times it will go away.
Wow.
But that's really the worst case scenario.
Yeah, worst case is when
you're
they're not receptive to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember when you had coffee and you were like, just listen to the world and just start noticing little messages and stuff.
That's so me. I'm like, look at billboards and junk mail.
And then I remember driving to my first session with you, and the AC was broke in my car. So I rolled down the window for a little bit of air, and this white moth comes in. And I'd never seen a white moth before, and then I remember you saying that, and I Google
it,
moth message.
Yes.
And then it was like, you have a message coming, and I was like, well, man, on the way to the session.
Yes.
And then after our first session, I was in Charleston, and I was Instagramming the great oak tree in Charleston, and I saw a white squirrel, and then you commented back on my Instagram, that's a message.
I mean, white can just be healing. So yeah, I'll Google that. So lately I've been seeing in like my backyard in Plaza Midwood, randomly, 7 deer.
Wow.
7. And so of course I'm going to ask Dana. I'm like, Dana, ask my spirit, what does 7 deer mean? And she was like, in the 7th month. Something's going to happen in the 7th month of this year. And so every time I see those 7 deer, not that I'm like looking forward to, I don't know what that means, but you definitely can get, like, if you see a group of something, count those. If you see like a license plate that's just like staring at you like a number, Google it. Like, I think that our spirits and our higher selves and the universe is always trying to communicate with us, but are we listening? You're driving down the road and you have to slam on the brakes if a fox is like staring at you, you know, in your face, and it's like that eye contact. That is not a mistake. We are all connected.
Wow.
Google that. What is the spiritual meaning of a fox? Whenever I go to Panera and you get the little numbers when you do that, I love Panera, the Greek salads, but you get the numbers on the when you do the kiosk. So it'll be like 44 or something. I will Google that. It's the first thing I do. And it's a message. You know, I mean, there's things that are trying to be told, and sometimes messages can come through conversations with other people. Like, I was standing at the line at Starbucks and this person just turned to me and said, God, you should quit your job today. Just randomly or something. And you're like, I've been thinking about quitting my job. You know, it's like, it's all around us. The weather, the moon, the stars, everything. Our bodies are talking to us, right? The low back is telling us we don't feel supported. I mean, it's everywhere. But it's just, are you listening? And are you open to making the change if, you know, you're being guided to a certain direction? Because that can be scary too. Yeah. People don't like change. They don't like to let go. And so it was really scary for me to break up with the same guy 20 times, because I have grown up sort of like with abandonment issues, you know, and so I've always wanted a daddy. you know? And so every time I broke up with this guy, it was like me walking away strong and empowered, like I am worthy. I have my own security, my own stability. I'm not going to look for it in anybody. But it was hard, like so hard every single time.
Yeah, it's like to listen to those signs and just like, even if, like I've been in the position where it's like I had to be that person where I was like, I feel like I have to go talk to that person.
Yes, like you're feeling a pull.
Like, yeah,
or
like,
a draw.
it's like,
Yes.
I don't know you, but
I love that.
But I'm now sitting at your table because, I mean, I don't like doing anything alone, and so now it's like, now I'm sitting at your table having coffee with you.
It's like, it makes you love life. Like,
Yeah.
that's why I love just going out during the day, like coffee shops, or I remember like I was at a liquor store. It was like, I don't know, like around Christmas, and we were like, I guess there was a long line, and we were just like, I made friends with like everybody, like behind me, in front of me, like I feel like I knew everybody, and I walked out and like I was high. But
Yeah.
I'm an extrovert, so like that community sort of outward vibe, like that's what makes me love life and fill me up. Or some people like to go inside, you know, and fill up by being alone. But I get like high of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because you're just like, oh my God, like if I didn't go to that liquor store, that, you know, that wouldn't have happened.
If I didn't talk to that person. Like,
Yes, you never know.
And you just have these connections with people that were just spontaneous.
Yes.
That feel spontaneous, but then it ends up being like, I was meant to have
I
that
think it's like the
conversation.
Celestine prophecy. I mean, I'm showing my age. But it's like that. They're like, you like meet someone and you just like walk up, like, why can't you just be like, hey, I'm feeling the pull to you. Like, I don't know why, but I'm feeling pulled to have a conversation with you. I'm Roman, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I would love it if somebody said that to me.
Wow. Any guys out there looking for pickup lines? Take
No
that one
longer,
and stick
what's
it.
your sign?
No.
That is in the trash. Virgo.
I was just pulled to you.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, you know, hashtag us too. You know, like you don't want to sound creepy when you approach people, but I do think that people feel that way all the time. Like you'll just like see somebody like Harris Teeter and you're like, they look familiar, they feel familiar, but you just walk by. You know?
You just let it go and then it sticks in the back of your head and you're like driving away, like
Yeah.
still thinking about that person.
Or if you see, like, I'll see it. I remember I was driving to Charlotte Yoga. I was with my 6-year-old, and I was driving, and I saw this like super beautiful girl like crossing the light rail, and I unrolled my window. I'm like, "Hey, girl, you're so cute." And she was like, "Thank you," which I think is probably so cheesy. Like, why did I say that? Oliver was like, "Did you really just say that?" But like, I just thought that she just had a strut. She was adorable. I loved her style. Like, I wanted to tell her she looked cute. Like, I think we need to do that more.
Yeah.
And maybe that girl's gonna commit suicide tonight. Maybe she was going, you know, that night. Maybe she was going home to like do some drastic thing, and maybe just that one comment. Like, I felt a pull to tell her a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that saved her life. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
You know?
That sounds like me too. I'm the guy that rolls down the window when I see a jogger, and I'm like,
Get
push in, get after it. And I feel like some people are like, man, like, what is that guy like? But I mean it in the best intentions ever, because I wish I've been running and I was like, man, if someone rolled down the window and
Seriously,
told me
yeah.
that I can keep going, shoot, my pace is picking up. And,
Yeah.
oh, that's beautiful stuff.
Good stuff.
And so I'm gonna kind of get to the end of this. If you could take out a page out of your book and give it to the world, what would that one page say?
I think my life's work and the reason why I'm on this earth, in this body, in this particular life, is to 100% stay empowered, to know my worth, to stay empowered in love and work as a mother, and just understanding like authentically who I am. And I think that my life's work is through learning that and healing in my own journey and path, I want to like instill that into other people. So inspiring other people that, you know, hey, I'm in a relationship where this guy is just, you know, constantly putting me down, or he's constantly like shutting down on me or ignoring me. Like, I want to be that friend or that healer or that teacher that can give that person tools on how to stay empowered. I think there are so many victims in this world, you know, and I think there's a place for victimhood, definitely. But I think as Americans, we can tend to swim around in that victimhood pool, maybe a little bit too long, or my boyfriend's mean to me, you know, and then you're like leaking all of your beautiful sparkle and your shine to this guy who doesn't even deserve your energy, you know. And so I want to be here to like help people know they can be what they want to be and they can rise to the top, whether that's through finding the love of their life or the job of their dreams or having, you know, multiple children and rocking out motherhood or becoming a yoga teacher, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like going in and studying yourself, like self-study, getting to know yourself, and then staying empowered, I think is a reason why I'm here. I would pull that page out of the Jenny book. Yes.
That's a great page right
Thanks.
there.
Go power.
I know. Yeah, I know that at one point I needed that page.
I think we all do, right?
Yeah. Oh,
and it
100%.
can go, you know, it can be, you can be empowered in some areas and not in others, but I think that it's our power. It's our life force, like empowered. It's like the power that we are. And like I was saying earlier, it's not Donald Trump power, but it's like our personal power, like your power, like how you show up in the world, how you stand up in this world, you know, how the world sort of views you and sharing your authentic power, whether you're a healer or an athlete or a parent.
Yeah.
And every time you sort of leak that to other people or situations, you're giving yourself, you know, you're doing a disservice to yourself because you're not doing what you're, you know, what you're here to shine and fly
You're
and to
giving
be.
your power up. Basically.
Literally, yeah. So, I mean, it's fun to have power. When I'm empowered, I have more energy. How many times have I sat on my couch and, you know, bit my nails and, like, thought about, does he like me, does he like me? Like, it literally gives you no energy when you pour your power into somebody else.
Yeah.
And when, you know, my healer said to me, I was like, how do I stay empowered in this relationship? And Dana, love you again, she said, go find joy. Get off the couch, teach the best class you've ever taught, and find joy. Have fun. Yeah. And it's hard to do, but that's how you keep your power. It's just, you know, keeping your presence, your awareness, and just trying to, even if you have to shift your thoughts little by little, like working your way up to finding things that make you happy.
Yeah, being grateful too.
Yes, gratitude's a great, that's a great sort of way to get off the highway of victimhood.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. And so, where can people find you sweating in Charlotte other than yoga studio?
I love boxing. So I'm at Rockbox 3 days a week-ish. I love it. It's so fun. It's meditative. You've been there, right? I mean, it's like my yoga, and you can get, you know, anger can be very empowering. I don't think anger is a bad thing, and anger expressed healthily can be very empowering. And I think boxing is a way to release anger in a way where you're not hurting anybody else, you're not punching walls, you know. Yeah. But we all have anger. It's a human, you know, it's a human emotion, and it needs to come out, you know, because the more you suppress your emotions, the more your body will manifest, you know, things physically, the more your body becomes at dis-ease, right? And so even those bad emotions, we need to get out. And so for me, boxing is a fun way to release my anger, you know? I mean, it's literally fun and empowering. So I'm there, I yoga, and I like to run. So you'll just see me running around Elizabeth and Plaza Midwood.
Yeah, getting that run on. If I see you running, I'll be rolling down that window.
Yeah, you better give me a compliment. Yeah.
Keep going, you got
nice
it.
legs, girl.
And then where can people find you on online and social media wise?
So on Facebook, I'm Jennifer Busco, Intuitive Guide and Energy Healer, and then I'm also Jennifer Busco, my personal. Instagram, JJ Busco, at JJ Busco, and my website is jenniferbusco.com, so it's just BUSCO.
Perfect.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I don't tweet. I wish I did, but I'm just...
I can't find...
Oprah tweets. I don't tweet. I don't get it.
I can't find...
Trump tweets. I mean, I don't know. I'm not a tweeter.
Can't find my tweets either.
I left my tweets in my locker.
I used to tweet back when I was in college and stuff, in high school all the time. Like, I was just tweeting everything. I need to get back on it, but maybe I might do a commitment to that here soon. And then, do you have anything else for the listeners?
Oh, God. I would say for the listeners, stay open, be aware, like we were saying, like there is guidance all around us every day, all day long, whether your body's talking to you through like some sort of pain or ailment, that is a little arrow telling you, hey, there is something off balance here. There's something, maybe a boundary that needs to be set, right? They say every time you get butterflies in a relationship, it's a sign that either you've overstepped a boundary or a boundary needs to be set. It's like your body telling you something needs to be done. And when you set a boundary, you contain your power. You stay empowered, right? It's all third chakra. So listen to your body and stay open. Listen to strangers on the streets, you know, approach people. look at animals. I mean, anything like that. Just stay open, aware, alert, and let the guidance happen. I think that we try to control so much, and it's like, I think part of what I'm, here to do is to tell people like, hey, you can just ease up on the control. Like, there's something bigger out there. It's a partnership, I believe, 50-50. Us, human bodies, and then God or the universe or your spirit, right? So ultimately, it's you combine together. So you do your job as a human, stay empowered, come from love, talk to yourself nicely, be nice to people, follow your dreams, and then leave the other 50% up to faith and trust.
Got it. Oh,
That's
it. You're beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
We are good.